Okay, it's a minute after, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Jenny Boeckman with DEKRA, and presenting today with me is Carla Wenger. And just a few housekeeping notes here in the beginning. We are today going to be talking about the application side of behavior-based safety, and that's going to entail talking about how to enter observations and reports and those things. We're not going to be talking about the administration side, and that's the side where we would be creating checklists or setting up the requirements for behavior-based safety. The other thing we will not be covering today is Rincon Cloud. So we're just going to be talking about the behavior-based safety for legacy RCI safety, not the Rincon Cloud portion. All the phone lines are going to be muted, so if you have questions, please use our chat feature, and we will answer questions at the end. And we will be recording this, and it'll be sent out to everyone who registered for the webinar in an email in the next day or two. Just wanted to also mention that you can access our webinars through our YouTube videos, and you can search DEKRA Management Systems for our YouTube videos, and that'll also be in our email that we send out tomorrow. So we'll get started, and now Carla is going to present behavior-based safety.
Good afternoon. All right. So the first thing we're going to start talking about is why use a behavior-based safety system. Behavior-based safety helps to establish a strong safety culture and lower the risk in workplace through employee engagement. Something you need is your leaders at your company to be buy into this product. They really need to be behind all of the people doing it and help them get stuff or make sure that things get done for it. You also need, it helps create a buy-in from all staff also. Today we're going to be going over, like Jenny said, the application side and how to enter observations. We're going to start with online, how to enter an observation online, how to use our scan forms, and then we're going to talk about how to use our mobile app. We are also going to talk about scanning best practices and reports. This is our role level chart so that everybody can understand who can see what according to their role level. So every employee in our system has a role level. I'm going to start out on the corporate side of it down here. And you can see over here on the left that it does have a legend, so you can see what each one of these little symbols look, or what they mean. So the circle means view, the plus sign means add, the triangle means change, and the red X means delete. So with that, you can see the corporate role level, which is the highest role level you can have in the system, can do pretty much anything. They can view, add, change, and delete. Meaning with the add button, I want to point out that they can add observations up here, but they also have some extra things that they can do. You can see we have another little box down below them, and it says over here on the left-hand side that they can also add checklists and set up all the requirements. That is something that nobody else has access to do in the other role levels, but this one actually has that access as a corporate role level, or corporate role level. As we go down, you can see business unit, region, and location admin all have quite a bit of access. They can actually view the locations and regions that they actually have access to. So, and then they can also view, add, change, and delete everything in those. Another thing that location admin, region, and business unit have is they are able to review the observations once everybody puts theirs in. We will be going over that later today so you can see how to do that. But I wanted to point that out, that those three roles are the only ones that have access to do that. As we go down, you can see that location edit has a little bit less. They can't delete any observations, so they'll have to ask somebody with a higher role level to do that. And then the employee view has even less. They can view and add their own observations, and they can see other observations also. Benefits and features, it has a potential to minimize accidents. it creates conversations between the observers and the employees so they can figure out ways to make things a lot safer. You can also identify barriers that prevent safe work environments. You have the option for location view users to only see their own observations, and that is a setting that your account manager can turn on for you. Or you can have them where they can see all observations. And then a dynamic reporting to view observation results, which we'll be looking at later. Okay, so the first thing you would do is come in and use your username and password and log into the system, and it'll bring you to this page right here that we're looking at. Then you're going to want to go to Applications, Behavior-Based Safety, and click on it. And it will bring you to this page. Then you're going to want to put in your location right here at the top. So I've picked Galveston already for mine. You can pick your department right here, but you don't have to. You can pick it when you add the observation. And we're going to come back to this page and talk about this later, but we're going to go ahead and start with adding an online observation. So if you would click on that Add New Observation button, it'll bring you to the observation page. It automatically defaults the date in for you as of today's date. Then some of these settings along the side here aren't always going to show up for every company, and that's according to what the corporate role level has set up for you guys. So you may not have a time blank up here, and if you don't, it's probably because they didn't think that was necessary, but you can use that if you want. It's something they can turn on and off. So if you do, you would put in the time, 12 a.m., let's just say. That location is brought over from the page before, so you can see it's set on Galveston still. I can pick the department right here. I can also pick clients, and those clients are just people that could possibly be on site that you might be doing observations on, and you want to be able to track who's on site from different companies that are working for you guys. The next thing down is to add a checklist. So this is where you have your set checklist. You can have as many checklists as you want. We're going to look at the safety checklist, and then you're going to put in the employee or observer, and I'm going to pick Anna Carr on this one, and then the task. Now, if you have a task drop-down, that is because you have task analysis system through our company. If you do not have the task analysis system, you will not have a drop-down here, but if you do, you can pick your task if it's in this list. If you don't, then you're going to want to type in that task down here. So we're going to use cleaning coffee pots. The next thing down is if you require shifts to be tracked, you can actually pick your shift in here. And then you can also have the number of people observed. So we're going to put one person was observed. The next feature down is the observation files. This is a file upload. So anytime you want to be able to upload something for this checklist, such as if you have like a card that you're doing it on rather than using our scan sheets, then you could upload maybe one of those. You can upload pictures or anything else you can think of that might need to be kept with this observation. And it's pretty simple. If you click on the Upload Files button, it'll take you to your computer and you can find wherever that picture may be. So you can find pictures, you can click on them and hit Open, and then it'll bring that picture into that box for you. As we go down the screen, you're going to see a green bar come across the top right here. This is the first category that we're going to be looking at. So we're looking at tools and equipment, and below that are all the exposures or behaviors that you guys have listed in here. So you can see personal protective equipment, poor ventilation, selection, use, condition, inspection. So as you can see over here on the right, we have safe, unsafe, not applicable, or barrier. You could use safe, at risk, barrier, and not applicable. Let's talk about what those mean. So a safe barrier is they have their personal protective equipment on, they're wearing it correctly. That would be a safe behavior. If it is unsafe, they don't have, let's just say, their gloves on and they're cleaning the coffee pot and they need to have their gloves on because that's very important to you guys. Then you would pick unsafe and then you would let them know they need to put their gloves on. But you could also put a comment over here saying not wearing gloves next to unsafe. A barrier would be they're not wearing their gloves because there are none available for them to use. So if that was it, you could click barrier here and you can put need to order gloves, company is out. And then you can come over here. You can find the picture of your gloves. And you can upload a picture. That way they know exactly what they need, and it'll show right over here. And then you're going to come down and just complete the entire observation as you go. So we're going to say safe for these, safe, and then we're going to hit save. As I hit save, it's going to take me back out to the main grid, and my observations should show up there. So you can see that right there. Now, once those observations go in, management can go back in and actually edit those and check them and mark them reviewed. So we're going to click on edit, and if I was the manager, I'd come back in here and I'd review everything they entered in. We're going to talk about this here in just a minute. And then you can see the pictures now, and then you can come in here and actually put some feedback. So you did coach the employee. Was the feedback well received? Yes, it was. And we discussed it. Okay, and then I can hit mark as reviewed. All right, so I'm going to go back in. Now over here on the right-hand side, it says I have reviewed this. It says who reviewed it and what day. If I click edit, I can come back in, but if you notice, a red box popped up at the top of the page. So once you reviewed it, it does lock it out. So the only people who can open one that has been marked as reviewed is a business unit or corporate user. So you can hit reopen if you have that role level. If I reopen it, it'll open it back up for me. And I'll be able to edit it again if they needed to edit something, and then they can hit save. And then it'll be back. So that's how you can go in and do that. All right, I'm going to go back into this screen really quick and discuss one more thing. So if you notice, we had a barrier incident down here. So what that happens is your corporate users can set it up so that it actually creates an incident into our incident investigation system. So I clicked barrier on this, and when I saved, it actually saved, and then it added the top, this little thing that says incident investigation. This is a hyperlink, and if you click on that, it'll take you to our incident reporting system. It looks just like this. It'll have those questions that came over from the observation. And then there's a spot right here that you can actually add corrective actions. So I would hit add corrective action. I would pick the person I want to do that corrective action. I want them to order those gloves. That's very urgent, so I'm going to have this person order gloves. And I'm going to hit save. And now an email has been sent out to George Glass to let him know he's required to order those gloves. Then he would come back in here, either in this one and hit edit and then finish it, or he could go to the corrective action screen and do it through there. And then when you're done, if you're done with this one and you've saved everything you want to, you can click on this hyperlink and go back to the observation. All right, I'm going to hit the back button. So that's how you enter one, I'm going to go to behavior-based safety. That's how you enter an observation online. The next thing we're going to look at is entering an observation for scan sheets. So you're going to come in the same way. You're going to hit add new observation. You're going to start at the top and fill out these couple blanks that we've already gone through. I'm going to pick another. And then right after you pick your checklist, you'll see that the screen kind of flinches a little bit. That's because it's populating this button right over here on the right-hand side. You can click on that. And you can see here's our scan sheet. So a couple of things with the scan sheet. You want to make sure that you inform your employees that they need to write left to right. Don't try writing right to left. That does not work. Our computers don't read that very well. So you're going to put in 2018. Also, when you get to the month and date, if it's like in January, you're going to want to make sure you put a 0 and a 1 here, and then like 01 for the date. Then you can enter a time if you want to enter that. Then we have department codes that you can enter into these. You just put the department code, and then you put your observer ID number in here so that the computer knows where to send this one. Then you're going to put your last name, and then you can see over here we have a facility ID. These observation sheets are specific to facilities, so make sure if you're at another facility you're not using the wrong sheet, you're using the correct one, and this is for Galveston, which is the location that we're looking at. Then you're going to enter your task onto this blank, and then your shift, and then you're going to come down here, and it looks a little bit different than the online, but it's the same pretty much setup. So here's your category. That 1.0 is the category, and then the behaviors or exposures are listed below that. You're going to enter if it's safe, unsafe, a barrier, or not applicable. And if you hit that barrier or unsafe and you want to add a comment, you would take that number next to personal protective equipment, 1.1 here, personal protective equipment, and enter 1.1 in these boxes over here. And then you're going to actually comment over here on the right-hand side. Then when you're done with the observation and you upload it back to the system, you scan it in, and then save it to your computer, then you're going to need to come back to the main grid. You're going to click on this Upload Files button. You're going to find that scan sheet, and you're going to hit Open. Once you hit Open, you can see it says File uploaded successfully and pending processing. Then what happens is you're going to get a verification email that looks like this. It's letting you know that we have received your observations, and then it's getting ready to go through the verification process. This does not mean that they're going to come through. We're going to talk about that just a second, but this does tell you that you did upload them and they're going through verification. All right, so as you can see, all the observations show up down here. So if I had a scan sheet, it would show up right in here somewhere. If for any reason something is not quite right on the observation sheet, at the top of the page where you put the date, the observer ID number, the time, any of that information, and the computer could not read that, it's going to show up in this Manage Exceptions box over here on the right-hand side. So if I click on that, you can see there's some Manage Exceptions already in here. Let's just click and look at this actual scan sheet that we sent in. So this scan sheet, you can see, is missing possibly their observer ID number. Most observer ID numbers are 5-digit, but this one is missing 2 digits. So the computer couldn't figure out who this actually was. So if you come back over here to Manage Exceptions, this is the one we were looking at. We hit the Edit button. Then you find the employee in here. So we were looking at Amakar. We're going to put her name in there. Everything else looks like it read correctly. You can see that. And then you hit Update. Now there's only 2 left in here. So that means it's processed and it should be in the grid below. This one was done on 8/30, and this is it right here. All right. Now, another thing that can happen is, let's just say they couldn't read the observation. Maybe when you scan them in upside down. So what happens is, if you scan them in upside down and our computer can't read them after it goes to it, then it's going to send you an email that looks just like this. At the top of it, you can see there's a PDF. That's going to show you what scan didn't go through. And then down below, it's going to let you know some of the things that could have gone wrong. In this case, this one was actually upside down. That's why it did not process. So you guys need to rescan those back in. Another scenario you can have is the bottom half, you may have done something incorrectly. So if I come in here and I edit one of these, it's red. That's what the red row means. There's something wrong. And you come down, it's going to tell you right here there's something wrong. And if you scroll down, it should turn something red if you see it. So you can see here, hearing protection, there's something not quite right here. So let's go and click on the scan sheet and just take a look at what could have went wrong. So there's several things that went wrong. First of all, it probably went through manage exceptions because the top of it was very hard to read. It's missing the observer ID number again, some scratching out was done, things like that. But the one that's missing is actually, believe this one right here, and that's because somebody started to fill in a circle and decided they didn't want that answer, so they crossed it out, and then they colored in this one over here on the left side. Our computer doesn't know how to read that, so it's going to count this one as not being marked correctly, and it's just going to show nothing on it. As you can see over here, nothing was checked. So now you can come back in and correct that. They did put safe, so if we click on safe, and we come down here and save, at the bottom, that should clear out that observation so it's no longer red in the grid, and it did. All right. I do want to show you a few other things here. First of all, here's our best practices for scanning. First, use forms printed from site rather than copies of the forms. That makes them a little more clear and less likely to be a little blurry. The second thing is you want to make sure when you print them that you print them to actual size, not fit to page. That's a setting in the printer, so when you click on print, you'll see it. There's a checkbox. Make sure it's going to actual size. If you use fit to page, there's a good chance it's going to shrink that observation sheet, which will make it error when it's going through the computer. The next thing is you want to make sure that you use blue or black pens, not pencils. You also want to make sure you do not doodle or scribble anywhere on the entire sheet, especially in our QR codes and our anchor boxes, which are the little black boxes at the top of the observation sheet. Also, fill in the circles using your pen or put an X inside those circles. We suggest you do not make a check mark. If the check mark is outside the circle, it could possibly count it as a, let's say if you were filling in the check mark for safe, it would count the unsafe as what you marked instead of the safe. The next thing, scan many forms together and save to one file. You can upload as many forms as you want. Just make sure that they're for the same location. That makes it a little easier on the computer if they're all going to the same location. All pages must face the same direction. If it's a two-page scan, make sure page 1 is first and page 2 is second. If it is a two-page scan, be sure to scan both pages, even if there is nothing on the second page that you filled out. And then also make sure you set your printer to 300 dpi. Here's a good look at a good observation filled out for a scan form. You can see they've clearly written everything out for it, and it went through fine. This here is an example of a bad one. If you are going to cross out something in the top half, I suggest using whiteout and writing it right back over the top. This will not process, so the shift 2 would have to be picked again. Also, it's missing the digits here. This is another bad thing down here. Like I said, you don't want to do this where you start one, cross it out, and fill in the other. So that's how you enter a scan sheet. The next thing we're going to look at is actually our mobile app. You can enter observations on the mobile app. You need to go to the Apple iTunes Store or the Google Play Store and search for My Insight. We do have 2 apps in there, so just be aware that you're making sure it's the My Insight, not the My Walkthrough app. If you're having a hard time finding it in there, make sure that you go to, you can type in RCI Safety, and that will also bring our apps up. But once you get the My Insight app on your device, which you can use on a tablet or an iPhone or a Droid phone, anything you want. Click on it. It will take you here to this screen. You're going to, or actually it'll take you to the login screen. You're going to log in using your normal username and password. Then once you log in, it's going to ask you to, which application you want. We're going to look at My BBS, so we click on that. Then once you get the location picked and the checklist picked, this is what it's going to look like, where you can come in here, hit safe, unsafe, barrier, or not applicable for each one of the exposures or the behaviors. As you come down the screen, you're going to see this, there was a box with a plus sign in it, said behavior details. If you click on that, that is actually, if you have an unsafe or a barrier or even a safe, If you want to add a comment to it, that box, you just click on that line that has the plus sign and it'll pop this box up along with this one down here. This one is for your comment. This one over here is to add media. So to add media, you would click that add media button and then you would take a picture. It says take picture. And then once the picture is taken, it will pop up this screen that you're looking at right now. And this is where you can actually annotate the picture. So you can pick the color you want to annotate with according to what will look best on here. You can see we chose green. And then we circled that there was a cord laying in the room and it needed to be moved because it's a trip hazard. So we circled that using our finger and just circling it. And you can do that in any color you want. Then when you're done, you're just going to hit Save Drawing. It'll take you back to the observation page where you can keep going and adding all the rest of your exposures and behaviors. And then when you're done, you're going to hit Save, and it'll take you back to the Upload Files page, and then you can upload that file, and it'll immediately upload to our system. All right. So the next thing we're going to look at is reports for behavior-based safety. To do reports, you're going to be on our website and you're going to go to the tab that says Report Library. You click on that. Then you're going to see these tabs come across the top where you can go this way, or you could also hit this View Reports as a list and find the reports you want to see. I'm going to click on this Location tab, and then I'm going to go to Behavior-Based Safety. And then it's going to list all of our reports down the side here. That's how you get into that report library. So the first report we're going to look at is the All BBS Comments report. This is what it kind of looks like. It's got a little bit cut off so we could get it on the page. On the left-hand side, you can see there is a hyperlink. That's what this blue writing is right here. If you click on that, it'll actually take you to the observation if you want to go back and look at that observation. Then it's going to tell you a few things, the location, the observer, the task observed, the checklist, and then it's going to list all the comments that were entered in there. The general comment box is at the bottom of the observation sheet. If you had any general comments you wanted to add, that's where that one would show up at. And these are all the exposures and behaviors and all their comments next to them. You can also see if it was marked as a barrier, an unsafe, or a safe. That's one good report you can use. The second one you can use is the Compliance Goals report. This one has all the employees listed on the left-hand side over here that have done observations. And you can see this line right here. If they are required to do an observation, they have a 1 next to their name. If they are not required, they probably have a 0 next to the name. But that means this person actually did an observation, and that's why her name is showing on here. Here is the goal for the people who have them required. It's a 4. And then you can see over here, this is what they have done. So this person has done 2 observations of her 4. So you can see on this red and green chart over here that it shows that she's up to 50% of her goal by the green mark. On the next report we're going to look at is the top behaviors chart. This is going to actually look at all the behaviors that were chosen. So you can see here, here's all the behaviors at the bottom of it. And at the top, it's showing red for barriers. This is how many times this earplugs was picked for barrier and how many times it was picked for unsafe. And then you guys might want to go over those and see if we can eliminate some of the higher exposures that have been picked. The last thing I want to look at in here for reports is how to subscribe to a report. So as you come in, you can see we're looking at the top behaviors chart report. You're going to come in and do your filters down here at the bottom. So you go back and forth, left to right on this. And then once you get everything picked the way you want it, you hit View Report. Once the report is, you can see down here at the bottom, then you can subscribe to it. So to subscribe, you're going to click on this drop down right here. Pick how often you want it to be sent to your email. So if I want this weekly, I would pick Monday weekly or monthly. And then the next drop down is how you want it to come into your email. So you can have it as an Excel, a PDF, a Word, whatever's in the drop down. And then the next thing over is the friendly name. This is something you're going to name it so that you know which one this actually is coming in. So an example of that would be, I could put Galveston top 5 behaviors or whatever I'm wanting to remember this report as a name. If you do not enter a name into this box, it will actually enter the name of the report that's listed up here at the top. Then when you're done with that, you're going to hit add subscription. And now you'll get an email on the 1st of the month with this report in it, according to the filters that you've done down here. Now the second option is to click this subscribe others to this report. Let's say you want this report to go to others. So if you click that subscribe others box, a new box pops down. You can see all these names appeared. One thing to note, it does say right here, names in red have no emails. So there's no way for them to get the subscription until they have an email in the system. So if you try to subscribe these, it will not allow you to the red because they don't have the email. But if they're in black, you can subscribe them. So I would pick the people that I want to subscribe this report. And you can also change the name of that report right down here, just like we did up above. And then you can hit add subscription, and that will show up for them in their email, however you had it set up for them. The only alerts that are sent to the behavior-based safety is when you enter an incident or an incident is created for a barrier or an unsafe to those signed up to receive on incident entry alerts. And this is what it looks like. So if you did have that set up to have the incident reporting system send out those, then you'll get an email with this actual alert in it, and this is how it looks. Now we're going to go back to the live site, and I'm going to show you where the help files and the live chats are. So over here on the right-hand side, it says help files. If you click on that help file, it will actually take you to our help files page, and you can see we have a lot of help files in here. I'm going to click view all next to the behavior-based safety, and it's going to give you a list of all the help files we have. So I'm going to look at this behavior-based safety. This is actually what we're doing today, is learning how to enter observations. It'll tell you a brief description of what you're going to be looking at in this help file, and then it's going to give you a step-by-step tutorial on how to enter an observation in here. It's going to give you pictures with it numbered so you can see how to do that all the way down. The next thing we're going to look at over here on the right-hand side is the live chat feature. If you're having some issues and you have a quick question, you can actually enter the name at the top, and then you can put your message down here and hit send chat. If that, then the associates in our office from 8 to 5 can answer those on Central Standard Time. If you message the live chat anytime outside of 8 to 5 Central Standard Time, it will send an email to all of us at the office, and one of us will get back to you from that live chat. At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Jenny. She's going to let us know if anybody has any questions. So if you do have a question, use the chat feature on the GoToMeeting so that we can answer those.
Yep, if you've got any questions, be sure and type them in, and we'll try to get those answered for you. And I have not seen any come through yet, so we'll give everybody a minute to have an opportunity to ask.
If you guys think of any questions after we close this meeting out, feel free to call your account managers. They can help you out if you have any other questions.
Yep. So I don't see any questions coming in, so we'll go ahead and end our session for today. Like Carla said, we appreciate everyone attending today, and if you do think of any questions come up, be sure and reach out to one of us, and we will definitely help you out.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon. Bye.